What did one plate say to the other? Dinner's on me. I swear I'm just gonna do the rest of my videos right here because one, I am so comfortable on my bed. Should not have done that. And two, I can see my camera in a mirror over there so I can see if it turns off, which is great. So welcome to my 4th June weekly wrap up. This week I read 5 books and 3 graphic novels. So the first book I read is one that I mentioned in my last wrap up, which is Since You've Been Gone by Morgan Matson. This book follows a girl named Emily whose best friend Sloane disappears for the summer, but she leaves behind Emily a list of things to do. Some of those things include kiss a stranger, go skinny dipping, ride a horse. Emily decides she's gonna crawl out of her shell and do these things, and it just follows her summer, completing that list, making friends, going on adventures. I really enjoyed this book. I felt like it's the perfect tone for summer. It really put me in a great mood after I read it. I was really digging the writing style. I really love Morgan Matson. The only thing I didn't like is that Emily is super shy, which I know a lot of people can probably relate with, but me, not so much. So whenever she would chicken out for one of these items on the list, I would be like, come on, and it would just be really frustrating. So a lot of the time I was just irritated with Emily. Also, I felt like this book just kind of had a predictable character arc. There wasn't really anything in the plot that surprised me. There was no huge twist or fun shenanigan that happened that really wowed me. Overall, I really did like this book. I would recommend it if you're looking for something to put you in a really summery mood, but it wasn't my absolute favorite. I think I liked Amy and Roger's Epic Detour just a little bit more than this one. I gave this 4 stars. This next book I listened to on audio, and I have finally completed this series. I finally got to the last book in the Percy Jackson series, which is Percy Jackson and the Last Olympian. I am done. So I listened to this on audiobook, and let me just say really quick, I really wish I had listened to all of them on audio because they would have gone by so much quicker. I think I would have enjoyed them all like a half-star rating more than I did reading them in the text form. Overall, I felt like this was a pretty solid conclusion. There wasn't really anything that wowed me because, 1, I was spoiled, and 2, it just was a little bit anticlimactic for me, and I have no idea why because I liked how it ended. I think we were given so much anticipation of Kronos. Don't hate me, but I just don't like these books that much. I feel like they're really immature, and I know they're for middle grade. I totally get that, but as a teenager reading a series that I should have been reading way earlier in my life, I just feel like it's way too silly for me. I am going to try out the Heroes of Olympus series because I hear that's just much better for a teen reading level. Finally have this finished. Now I don't have to get hate for not reading Percy Jackson or Harry Potter, so you know, it wasn't a horrible book. I enjoyed it better than the previous 2, so that's good. I gave it 3.5 stars. The next book I read is a graphic novel, and that is Mouse Volume 1 by Art Spiegelman. And it follows a son and a father, and the father is just retelling his story. I think it's a Polish family kind of having to deal with all the shenanigans of the World War II. By the way, we're like 5 minutes into this video, and I forgot to mention I'm still in my PJs right now. Loving that summer life. I was not a fan of this. I had such huge expectations because this book is just so critically acclaimed. This is from like the 50s, I think. I'm not a fan of the comic style. I was super bored reading this, which was so weird because I love reading about historical fiction, Holocaust type books. I think they're just so fascinating and I can typically fly through them, but this one I was struggling so hard with. Even though it's a graphic novel, I was still wanting to put it down every time I saw it on my nightstand. That made no sense because it was already down if it was on my nightstand. Anyway, I just didn't really like the storyline and the art wasn't interesting enough to captivate me. I do own volume 2. I'm probably gonna read that just because I own it. Why would I not? The metaphor of cat versus mouse just wasn't as impactful for me as I thought it would be. I gave this 2.5 stars. The next book I listened to on audio and I don't own it, so I can't hold it up. But I have iMovie now and I can insert fancy pictures. Here's Malala. Over here. So I read I Am Malala by Malala Yousafzai. If you don't know, she was really big back in 2012 and 2013 and because she was shot in the head by the Taliban and she's this huge spokeswoman for education. I grabbed it on audio because the prologue is narrated by Malala herself. I cried 3 times just in the prologue alone because I love Malala so much. I love what she stands for. Her story is just so tragic yet touching. For the first third of the book, she's just kind of explaining her life, explaining the valley that she lives in Pakistan. It was so vivid. I felt like I was one of her school friends because she was just explaining how she did her normal life and her childhood, and it was so brilliantly written. Toward the middle, however, it started to get really political and really historical. If you're a history nut, you would probably really enjoy it. You would think it adds a lot of great information to the story. Myself, I was really bored. There's about a 2-hour chunk of time in the middle of this audiobook where I was just scrolling down Tumblr, half listening because I was just so bored. At the end, it returns to her story and her goals in her life, and I just wish this book had focused more on what she intends to do. I just wish she would have expanded on her goals and her story and what she wishes to accomplish with spreading the importance of education, because that is what she stands for. And although this book is about her life, there's honestly not that much in it where she focuses on the topic of education and why it's important, and it's more of about her rather than education itself. So I wish we could have just like taken that chunk of Pakistan politics and replaced that with something else that I feel like would have applied more to her personally. But Malala is such a beautiful person and I love her to death, and it still appalls me that she is like only a month younger than I am and she's still just so incredibly smart and talented. I really enjoyed this book. I would really recommend it to you. Even though it does get boring in the middle, I think it's totally worth it to read anyway. I gave this book 3.5 stars. This next book I read is a graphic novel, and it's my new favorite graphic novel of all time. This is Alex plus Atta, and this is by Jonathan Luna and Sarah Vaughn. This storyline is about Alex, and he lives in a futuristic society which is scarily real, and it's basically like robots and androids are really popular and everything is voice command, stuff like that. One day Alex is given this android and it's basically just for his own personal company, but the more he gets to know her, the more he realizes that she really doesn't have a voice for herself. She's not allowed to have opinions and feelings, and that really upsets him. And so this book just kind of follows him trying to solve that, and it kind of pushes the boundary between robot versus human. This is done like computer graphic almost, and I don't know what it is about that, but I just think it's so clean and so simple for the eyes. Like, I feel like a bunch of colors and all the scribble type art, I can't follow it easily, but this was drawn so beautifully. Here's the back cover, which is amazing. This book leaves off at like a crucial point, so I'm definitely gonna pick up the rest of the series. I thought it was so interesting. This is a relatively new series. I think this came out at the very beginning of this year, and there's only 2 volumes out right now. The 3rd one comes out in August. I will be buying these. I think it is amazing. I highly recommend it. If you're a new graphic novel reader, I would definitely recommend this one to you. It's pretty appropriate. I mean, like, compared to Saga. I think it's like rated teen. Yeah, this is just rated teen. Or if you've read a gazillion graphic novels and you want to try a new one, this. The next book I read is Where She Went by Gil Forman, which is the companion sequel to If I Stay. I was not a fan of If I Stay. I think I gave it 1 star the first time I read it and 2 stars the second time I read it. I just could not connect with it. It was not my thing. I hated the now and then perspective. No, I couldn't. I heard people that disliked that first one liked this one better, so I've had this one for a while and I just decided to pick it up on audiobook. I'm glad I finished the series. I mean, I would have much rather finished them than unhauled them, but I think this added absolutely nothing to the story. This takes place 2 or 3 years after If I Stay. It's just Adam whining about his life and pining over what's-her-face, Mia. For maybe 3/4 of this book, it's just weird complaining. I swear to God, if I have to read one more book about a character named Adam who has anger management problems, I'm going to explode. Nothing really happened until like the last 50 pages, or at least nothing that I felt was important happened, which was so frustrating. I didn't get the point of this. I felt like with both of Gil Forman's series, you could have just combined book 1 and book 2. Like, there was absolutely no reason to have a separate companion novel So I did not enjoy this one. I just can't give it 1 star because I love Gail Forman's writing. I'm a sucker for the way she writes. It's so vivid and so real. So because of that, I gave it 2 stars. The next book or graphic novel that I picked up from the library is this, which doesn't have a title on it. Like, what the heck? It's called Pnut. This book follows a girl, I don't even know her name, I don't really even care. It's about a girl who fakes a peanut allergy because she wants attention. I did not know that going into it. Starting it, I was like, no, like I was so skeptical. Reading this, I was so ashamed and so annoyed with the main character. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. This book is absolute crap. I think it has the worst message. I think the main character was just so incredibly stupid. The only reason I finished this is because I wanted to see her get caught. And the only reason I didn't give this 1 star is because I liked the art style. It's simplistic. I liked the color pop with her shirt. I don't even want to talk about this. This is being returned to the library ASAP after I finish recording this video. Would not recommend. I just spent like 5 minutes talking about this book and my camera cut off. I love life. I love it. So the next book I read is How to Love by Katie Okay, I listened to this on audiobook and the audiobook said Catugno, but I thought it was Catugno. We'll never know. This book follows a girl named Rena who has a boyfriend and gets pregnant. So it is a teen pregnancy book, the first and only I've read. It takes place in a before and after type of layout. The main reason that I enjoyed this book is because the writing was just stellar. Katie is such a talented writer because she makes analogies that are so clever. Like, I'll read a simile that she wrote and then I'd be like, true! And I'd never thought of it that way. Her sentences flow so well. She's truly a talented writer, and because of that, I'm definitely going to check out her new book, which previous to reading this, I had no interest in whatsoever. Like I said, I think this is just such an important topic, and so being put into Rena's shoes and being so connected with the writing and her, I really imagined myself being put in her place, and honestly, this book made me feel so vulnerable and so uncomfortable and even scared. It really helped me empathize with teen mothers. This book just made me feel relieved after I put it down because I wasn't in her situation, and I'm so grateful that I am single AF and don't have to go what she went through. This was a rough read just because it was like psychologically I felt horrible for her. But the main reason that I did not like this book and the reason why it is not 5 stars or 4 stars is because of Sawyer. And that is our main dude that got her pregnant and he disappeared and came back. He was horrid. He was the worst person in the world and there was absolutely nothing redeeming about him, and I just hated him. And I would have loved this book if he was like that and Rena still refused to be with him, refused him helping with the baby and stuff like that, but she let him in eventually, and that just bugged me to no end because it's like, he's a horrible person, you are aware of this, don't let him in again, and she did. Oh. Ugh. He was just so arrogant. He kept on pressuring her to cheat on her boyfriend. He is the character embodiment of stepping in a puddle with your socks on. In the end, this was just way too angsty for me. Sawyer really brought it down. Everyone who's read this book and didn't like it will tell you it's because of that one character. He was horrible. And I think he's purposefully irritating, but it's a little over the line for most of the book, so if you can push through that, I think it has a really great moral and just something that a lot of teens should read about and understand the hardships of. So yes. So thank you all for watching this video. I will have my July TBR up soon, but Whitney is a working woman, so I don't know how much I'll be able to read from here on out. I work 40 hours a week. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.